What if the current Strawhats were at God Valley? We are going to be taking all the Strawhats from literally the chapter before the flashback begins and plopping them into God Valley. How will their presence change the events of the God Valley incident? Find out in today's video. This is my first ever video on the channel, so if you enjoy, please subscribe, like the video, comment down below any other One Piece video ideas, and if you are watching on mobile, make sure to use the hype feature and hype up the video. I think this channel will one day surpass my main one, so if you want to be a part of the journey to do that, share the video around. And with that being said, let's get into the video. So, this video begins with all the different ships arriving at God Valley, but out of nowhere, another ship appears. The Sunny arrives in the waters near God Valley, and all the Strawhats wake up on the deck of the ship, completely confused, as they have no clue what just happened. 1 second they are on Elbaf, and the next they wake up here. They don't know where they are, but their log pose is locked onto the island in front of them, so they have no choice but to touch down on the island. And as they do, so does the Rocks Pirates, the Roger Pirates, and Garp with his crew. The Strawhats know that they need to get back to Elbaf. The Giants need their help, but until their log pose locks onto another island, they have no way to return there. And as they are discussing what they should do, they begin hearing explosions and gunfire happening all throughout the island. And Luffy begins smiling. Nami knows exactly what Luffy is thinking, telling him to not do it, but by the time she finishes her sentence, Luffy has already jumped off the ship and has run off, trying to seek adventure. Zoro says that he'll go get him, jumping off the ship and running after him. But everyone screams for Zoro to wait, knowing he's just going to get lost. But it's too late. He's gone. Well, at least they still have Sanji here to protect them. And Sanji says of course. He won't let anyone hurt Nami or Robin. Usopp says, and us, right? But Sanji ignores them, running to Nami and Robin and asking if they'd like a drink. But as Nami is about to respond, some pirates run past the Sunny, shouting, "Come on, quick! We will be the ones to take the treasure of Pirate Island for ourselves. It said each of those chests are worth 1 billion berries." Nami's eyes then turn into berry signs. Maybe they should go and explore this island after all. Sanji will come protect her, right? Sanji's eyes turn into love hearts, saying of course he will. And he asks Robin if she'll come too. And Robin says it could be interesting to see if any of that treasure could be historical artifacts. Or maybe the island has some in general, so she'll come along. Sanji says that's great, turning to the others, saying they'll take care of the ship, right? Usopp and Chopper then hug each other and begin crying, telling Sanji not to leave them, but Franky then grabs them both, saying they'll be just fine, and Brook agrees. So now Nami, Sanji and Robin also take off in search of treasure. Luffy is running around, cheerfully fending off random pirates who attack him, when he then sees a massive blast of fire, thinking that will be a good place to start. Dashing over there, where he sees 3 people running away from a marine. He doesn't recognise 2 of them, but one of them looks like Old Man Whitebeard, but he's dead, and this guy looks way younger. Maybe he had a son or something. In that case, he'll help him out, and so he jumps in the way of the marine, throwing a haki-infused punch directly at them, with the marine doing the same, and their hakis clash momentarily. But Luffy then gets sent flying back into the side of a building. The marine begins to laugh, and Luffy gets back up, asking who the hell he is. The marine smiles, saying he doesn't know. He is Monkey D. Garp, and Luffy's face becomes shocked. Grandpa? Garp then jumps up and tries to punch down at Luffy. Who does he think he's calling Grandpa? He isn't that old yet. But Luffy quickly dodges out of the way, and Luffy asks what happened. How did he look so young? Garp says that he has no clue what he's blabbering about, but he then notices Luffy's straw hat, and he asks him where he got that from. It looks just like the one Roger normally wears. Is he on his crew or something? Luffy says that Grandpa knows. He got it from Shanks. And who's Roger? Garp has never heard the name Shanks before, but Garp plainly says Gold Roger. And Luffy is shocked again. The king of the pirates? Is Grandpa saying he's alive? Garp begins to laugh. So, Roger's going around calling himself king now, huh? Don't make him laugh. Seems like he needs to humble him again. He completely ignores Luffy's second question, and Luffy really has no clue what's going on. But right now, it doesn't matter. His grandpa doesn't seem to recognize him, and it seems like he has to fight. So, Luffy then goes into Gear 4, Snake Man, and begins shooting out a bunch of snaking punches, which Garp begins to dodge, and he then grabs one of Luffy's arms, pulling him towards him. But as he does, Luffy pulls his arm back, enlarging his fist, and shouting "Elephant Gun!" as him and Garp throw a punch at each other simultaneously. We then head to the complete opposite side of God Valley. Zoro is trying to find Luffy, but it seems he just vanished. He could have swore he went in this direction. Someone would then run past Zoro, carrying a woman, and a bunch of pirates are running after them, and it seems like they're going to attack, so Zoro effortlessly cuts them all down, then seeing a man with 2 blades staring at him. That man being Shiki, who smiles and blitzes in front of Zoro, attempting to land a double slash, but Zoro catches each blade with his own, then jumping back and pulling out his third sword, which he puts in his mouth, before dashing back towards Shiki, and they begin to clash blades. At the same time, Sanji, Nami and Robin are running around, Sanji kicking away any marine or pirate who gets in their path, and Nami is smiling, carrying 1 treasure chest, while Sanji is carrying 2 more. But they then start to notice all the bodies on the ground. There is a lot of pirates and marines, sure, but there also seems to be a lot of random civilian bodies. What is going on here? Robin says she can't say for sure, but she has a feeling that most of these civilians who were killed weren't by pirates. This is worrying. But Nami says that if they find anyone innocent who needs help, they'll make sure to protect them, and Sanji says right, as they continue running back towards their ship. Back on the ship, the other Strawhats are waiting, hearing all the chaos taking place, and protecting the Sunny from anyone who attempts to attack it. Franky begins looking around, seeing if he can spot any of the crew coming back, but in the distance, he sees a ship docked on the island, which looks eerily familiar. No way, it can't be. Franky says he'll be right back, and Usopp tells him to wait. Not him too. Why does everyone keep leaving them? Jinbei tells Brook to go with him. They'll be fine defending the ship. It's been quiet for the most part so far anyway. Brook says alright, then running after Franky, and he asks Franky where they are going. Franky would tell Brook that he saw a ship, and it shouldn't be possible, but he thinks it was the one built by his master Tom. Brook asks why it shouldn't be possible. From what he remembers, Franky did say Tom died a long time ago, but if he built a ship before that, it should be possible for it to still be around. What makes it not possible? And as they arrive at the ship, Franky says it shouldn't be possible because it's the ship of the king of the pirates, Gold Roger. It can't be possible, but it's right in front of him. He knows for a fact this is the ship, and Tom built it. This is the ship which made the path for Tom's death. The craftsmanship is incredible, but there's no surprise there. Brook takes a look as well. He remembers Roger being a rookie before he died, but he never saw this ship. Maybe it wasn't built yet, but what is it doing here now? Franky isn't sure. He thought it was destroyed, but it's nice to see something Tom put his heart and soul into. However, before he can spend more time reminiscing, Brook and Franky see some of the Roger pirates returning, so they quickly run away, and we cut back to Luffy. His fight with Garp ended a while ago, as one of their clashes knocked them both a good distance away from each other. And now, Luffy is just running around again, seeing a couple celestial dragons, attempting to shoot civilians. And Luffy being Luffy, he knocked every single one of them out. And Dragon would see him do this a few times, not knowing who he is, but the courage of that man motivates him to keep moving forward. One of these times, Luffy actually protects a kid Kuma, And when Kuma sees Luffy, with his massive grin, he can't help but remember what his dad told him. The sun god Nika would save him. Then, all of a sudden, a massive wave of haki would be felt. Not only by Luffy, but by all the top tiers. Luffy would run towards this haki, seeing Rocks, Whitebeard and Kaido facing off against a demon. Wait, Kaido? How is he here? But it seems like there's an even stronger guy to deal with right now. So he lands next to Whitebeard. Kaido, Rocks and Whitebeard all look to Luffy, having no idea who he is, and Luffy smiles, saying he doesn't know how or why he got here, but he thinks it's to punch that demon right there. Whitebeard tells the brat to go home. This is no place for a child. Luffy says he isn't going anywhere, and Rocks smirks, telling the stranger to just not get in their way. Everyone then looks back to Emu, and Emu calls Rocks Davy Jones. But Rocks says he's got that wrong. He's never even met the guy. However, promises are meant to be kept, and Emu replies, saying that is exactly why thy kind must be erased from history. Nami, Sanji and Robin are about to get back to the ship. They also helped some of the God Valley citizens on the way, which allowed Kuma to later save them. Nami is happy, as they are about to put the treasure they got back on the ship, but out of nowhere, all the treasure they are holding flies out of their hands into the air, and Nami begins crying as she shouts no, her treasure! This was Captain John, using his devil fruit, but Sanji won't see his darling Nami upset, so he uses Skywalk, quickly jumping up and grabbing one of the chests. He couldn't get all three, but at least it's something, right? Robin says that's exactly right. 1 billion berries is plenty. Nami hugs Sanji, thanking him as his eyes turn into hearts again, and we head back to Luffy as now Roger, Garp and Big Mom also arrived, and they all throw insanely powerful attacks at Emu, including Luffy, who turns Gear 4 once again and throws a massive Kong gun. But even with all these attacks combined, Emu still remains. Rocks then jumps in, beginning to slice at Emu, and Emu begins saying things to Rocks, which Luffy can't hear, and then Emu stabs through Rocks, and all of a sudden, Rocks turns into a devil. Luffy can't hear most of what they are saying to each other, but he does hear one line. Who are you more afraid of? Davy D. Jones or Joy Boy? Luffy has never heard the first name, but he's been hearing the second one more and more lately. Rocks then gets dropped down, and immediately knocks away both Kaido and Big Mom, with Whitebeard then clashing with the monster. After this clash, Whitebeard is nowhere to be seen, and Luffy then sees Rocks running in the distance, then chasing after, and arriving in front of him at the same time as Roger and Garp. And Rocks uses the voice of all things, begging for them to please kill him. Luffy says that isn't gonna happen, shocking both Garp and Roger, as Luffy says he knows Rocks doesn't want to do this. That thing is controlling him, and he will help him fight it. Everyone is confused, as he then begins hearing the noise of drums. Luffy then begins emitting massive waves of Conqueror's haki, as his hair and clothes turn pure white. Rocks is the only one who knows this form, this boy. He possesses one of the fruits he was looking for. Garp and Roger then both smirk. Right, as Roger unsheaths his blade, and Garp cracks his knuckles. Roger then finally notices Luffy's straw hat, and says, by the way, where did you get that hat from? Luffy smiles, saying he'll tell him after, and Roger says he'll keep him to it. And so, the three then begin fighting against Rocks. With the help of Luffy, they are able to evenly match Rocks. But since Rocks is going for the kill, and they aren't, they are at a disadvantage. They need to figure out a way to release Rocks from that creature's control. But how? Rocks then begins using the voice of all things to speak to Luffy directly, asking him how much he knows about that devil fruit. Luffy would be about to respond out loud, but Rocks would ask why he's replying with his mouth, and not also with the voice of all things. He clearly has access to it, or else he couldn't hear him. Luffy says he can't. He's been able to hear people like this before, but they could never hear him back. And so, as the battle rages on, Rocks would begin to mentally coach Luffy on how to use the ability. Rocks doesn't know everything, but from what he does know, this ability will be very important for whoever eats the fruit, which Luffy now possesses. And after a short amount of time, Luffy is able to manage, but as he does, he fades out of Gear 5, and as Rocks is about to land an attack on him, Zoro and Sanji both jump in the way, catching the blow with extreme effort. Zoro felt the large wave of haki from Imu and left his fight with Shiki to come and help Luffy as soon as he did, but he got lost and came across Sanji, who also came to help, and the two came here together just in time to save their captain. But that's about all they can do in this fight, as they know they aren't strong enough to do much more. So Garp and Roger begin to face Rocks alone, while Luffy is out of energy and he says he needs food. Thankfully, Sanji thought this might happen, so he brought a sack of food from the Sunny with him, allowing Luffy to eat it as he regains all his energy, thanking Sanji and Zoro for the help. And he then uses the voice of all things to speak to Rocks again, saying don't worry, he's on his way, as Luffy then begins transforming into Gear 5 once again. But while doing so, the voice of all things connection between Rocks and Luffy remains, and the sound of drums begins blasting into Rocks' mind, and due to the mental connection, these drums are able to liberate Rocks. Garp and Roger are about to land an attack on Rocks, but they then see Rocks revert back to normal, and thankfully, Rocks is able to narrowly block the attack, saying he's back. He feels like his lifespan was shortened, but he is in control once more. Imu then arrived in front of them. How is this possible? Joy Boy? Luffy says he isn't Joy Boy. His name is Monkey D. Luffy, and he is gonna be King of the Pirates. Rocks smirks, saying that's right, he isn't Davy Jones, and Luffy isn't Joy Boy, but their legacies live on through them. So he asked Imu who he feared more earlier, Davy Jones or Joy Boy, but now he'll ask again. Who does he fear more, Davy D. Zebek or Monkey D. Luffy? Imu is enraged beyond belief, and Rocks says now all of them need to release all of their Conqueror's Haki at once. Luffy, Garp and Roger all say alright, as they get ready to do so, and for this brief moment, Zoro can feel the Supreme King Haki within himself, and he jumps next to them, preparing to do so as well. Imu tries to stop this, attempting to hit Luffy with one of his tendrils, but Sanji jumps in the way, kicking the tendril and preventing it from hitting Luffy. He may not be the sword to strike this monster, but he can be the shield that defends against it. And a moment later, Rocks, Luffy, Garp, Roger and Zoro all release every drop of their Supreme King Haki through their most powerful attacks at once, all hitting Imu, and this combined Haki is able to send Saturn back to the Holy Land, and by extension Imu, who was controlling him. Their combined attack was able to match Joy Boy's Haki on Egghead, allowing them to finally push Imu back. With this, all the Marines and Holy Knights retreat, and back in the Holy Land, Imu is mixed with fear and anger. Mu cannot be bested. Not again. Now the dust has settled, everyone on God Valley is exhausted, Rocks thanks Luffy for his help, and Luffy laughs, saying no problem, it was fun. A white light then envelops Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji as they begin fading away. Huh? What's going on? Sanji guesses whatever brought them here is now taking them back. And Roger says, wait, Luffy never told him where he got the hat. Luffy smiles, saying he got it from red hair Shanks, as he then disappears, and on the shore, so do the rest of the Strawhats, along with the Sunny. Roger has no clue who Shanks is, and Garp laughs, saying he doesn't either. Roger also asks, did that kid say his name was Monkey D. Luffy? Is that Garp's son or something? Garp then bashes Roger on the head, saying of course not. His son is a Marine, like his old man. Rocks then asks if Garp is going to stay a Marine now, after what he's seen. If not, he should join his crew. He always thought Garp should have become a pirate. Roger says that's not fair. He was going to ask that, but Garp declines them both, saying he needs to protect the Marines, and he can only do that by staying as one. Rocks thinks that's dumb, but he then hears Kaido and Big Mom rushing at him from behind, telling Rocks he'll regret betraying them. But Whitebeard then jumps in the way, telling them to stop. Did they not actually look at Rocks? Clearly he was being controlled, then looking back at Rocks and asking if that's correct. Rocks confirms this, apologising to his crewmates for attacking them, and for what he said to them. He didn't mean those things. Kaido forgives Rocks, and Big Mom does for now, but she says if Rocks ever lets himself get controlled again, she'll kill him herself. Rocks says that's fine by him, parting with Roger and Garp as they all return back to their ships, and Rocks notices that he has fewer crewmates than before. It seems some of them used this opportunity to betray them. No matter, if they find them, he'll be sure to kill them. Whitebeard then asks if they are heading back to Pirate Island, but Rocks says no. First, they have to stop elsewhere. It's about time his crew meets his family. Back on Roger's ship, he sees the treasure chests his crew collected, and he is excited, but he then hears one of his crewmates call his name, with a concerned tone, asking what is it, and he sees a red-haired baby laying inside of it. Roger then remembers the name Luffy told him, and grins. Welcome to the crew, Shanks. And this is where we're going to end today's What If. Hopefully you guys enjoyed my first ever One Piece video. If you did, remember to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and if you are watching on mobile, give it all your hype points. I had a blast writing this one, and having all the little connecting points throughout, like with Franky seeing Roger's ship, which was a major plot point when we were introduced to Franky, so I thought it was very fitting for him to find it, and just trying to slot in some of the Strawhats to certain events, like with Zoro being there, just as Rayleigh saves Shaki, and then going one-on-one with Shiki. Nami also being her treasure-loving self, but getting most of her treasure stolen when Captain John pulls all the treasure to himself, and Luffy meeting his grandpa, along with allowing Kuma's father to keep his promise, as the Sun God does in fact save Kuma. And Dragon seeing Luffy, motivating him to keep going and save Shanks. I do also like that nobody actually finds out they were sent back in time, since I doubt in character any of them really would. Well, for the most part. Maybe if Brooke ended up seeing Roger, he'd piece it together, but he didn't really have a reason to here. And then I also added my own theory on how Luffy could be the key to nullifying Daimi Reversi, as I think the Drums of Liberation have to be involved, but it can't just be them outright, otherwise the second Luffy shows up, Daimi Reversi becomes useless, and that just wouldn't really make sense story-wise. So I think combining that with the Voice of All Things is a neat way to do so, and I know some people might ask why the fights weren't more fleshed out, like with Zoro vs Shiki and Garp vs Luffy. But within the God Valley flashback, most of the fights are actually off-screen. So I wanted to keep the same theme here. But yeah, apologise for the little ramble at the end. I hope you all enjoyed, and if you have any other One Piece related videos you wanted to see me do, make sure to comment down below, whether it be a what if, a theory video, or just anything involving One Piece. And with that out of the way, I hope to see you all in the next video. Goodbye guys.